It's a constant kind of pressure we find ourselves under. I think one of the things you do is you try to have a more flat organization. It means more people report to you, and
Yes,
you get to touch more of the organization than normally the vertical chain of command. But
yes.
I find it much more rewarding because all of us get to learn from one another. We have a lot more interaction between one another, and that's point one.
Welcome to an episode of Strategic Conversations. We host insightful discussions with top business leaders. Today, we're hosting Mr. Paul Varello, the founder and president of Commonwealth LNG. Mr. Varello has had a rich career, including 18 years with Fluor Corporation, where he rose to the position of the president of the process section. Mr. Varello will be a speaker at the Houston Strategy Forum's upcoming Global Gas and LNG Symposium. We're looking forward to hosting him there and hope to see you all there so you can engage in a very insightful discussion with him. I am Ravi Kathuria, the president of the Houston Strategy Forum and author of the management leadership book, How Cohesive is Your Company, and author of the book, Happy Soul, Hungry Mind. Strategic Conversations is hosted by the Houston Strategy Forum. And if you like these conversations, then please hit like and subscribe to the Houston Strategy Forum's YouTube channel. Today's episode is sponsored by Cohegic, my management consulting and executive coaching firm. Thank you for joining us today. We're looking forward to a great discussion with Mr. Varello. Mr. Varello, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time. We are excited to host you, sir.
Thank you, Ravi. It's good being with you.
Sir, you have had a powerful career. You have served as the top leader for so many companies, and you paid your dues to corporate America. I am an entrepreneur, and I came from a corporate background, so it gets me excited to talk to a fellow entrepreneur. Sir, I want our audience to find out what prompted you to become an entrepreneur, and even after having such a successful corporate career, what led you to say, I want to go create my own company and create and control my own destiny?
I think there were a couple of big motivations. It's a great question, and I often get asked what made me get out of what was a very successful corporate career.
Yes.
But the reality is that corporate structures, by definition, have to have a fair amount of rules and regulations.
Yes.
And hierarchies of approval and authority. And I found myself resisting some of those kind of things and becoming frustrated by how long it took and how involved things were that perhaps didn't have to be that way. And I finally got to the point where I said, well, before I get too old, let me try it on my own. The worst that'll happen is I'll get back on that corporate ladder, maybe a rung or two lower, but I'll get on it and go back. And I have never gone back. And that was about 40 years ago. And I loved my time at places like Fluor. It was a great place to learn about engineering and construction and business and global relationships. But I really used all of that when I started my business. And then there was a whole new set of skills. As you know, building your own business, you think it's just going to be about the business. It's about everything else. It's about payrolls and how much do you want to pay people and what color carpet do you want and who should you have with the receptionist and what's your logo look like. Crazy stuff that sometimes pulls you away from what you're trying to do, but still very exciting.
Yes. No, I appreciate the administrative part. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, you have so many ideas that you want to make happen. And then you say, what is this administrative stuff that keeps coming in the way? I didn't sign up for this. And it can, if you're not careful, it can bog you down.
Yeah.
Sir, as you think about your organization design, and you talked about, and it is true, corporate America sometimes gets in its own ways, right? I mean, it becomes very intertwined, and actually, as a management concern, my job is to try and untwine this, but I find that it is a difficult. How have you created an organization that is agile and nimble? How are you making sure that as Commonwealth LNG becomes more successful and grows, that it doesn't develop that its own tentacles, right? That prevent it from executing much faster than a much bigger corporation would.
It's a constant kind of pressure we find ourselves under. I think one of the things you do is you try to have a more flat organization. It means more people report to you, and
Yes,
you get to touch more of the organization than normally the vertical chain of command. But
yes.
I find it much more rewarding because all of us get to learn from one another. We have a lot more interaction between one another, and that's point one. I think the other thing is the Commonwealth name is derived from a philosophy I have that says we're all in this together and we will
Uh-huh.
hopefully benefit commonly by the wealth we create. And
Ah,
when people start thinking about the success of the business instead of just their own career or their own self interest, you find out that suddenly collaboration is easier because there's a common goal and it's success. And that to me is the key to the success of Commonwealth as a company.
I love that. I love that. I wondered about your name because I noticed that one of your previous companies also had the same name. So I
Yeah,
figured this was.
I started this idea with Commonwealth Engineering and Construction, and again we had over 250 people, and but I pulled together a broad list of team members, and over 50 of them were owners with me of the company, and we shared the wealth. And although I put in the money, they put in the sweat equity and the brain power and the effort, and I wanted to recognize that. Not everybody had the resources, financial resources that I had, but they had other skills that were critically more important, in fact, than just the money. It is very rewarding for me to have colleagues who see and have as much to offer as I do and as much dedication as I do to the common goal of being successful.
I'm wonderful. I loved your answer, sir. It is. Uh, I loved hearing that philosophy that you have of bringing people together and creating Commonwealth. I think that's fantastic. I congratulate you
Thank you.
because absolutely, you go into larger corporations, and that definitely is not a philosophy that you're going to see there. Uh,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I uh, people who are in your team are blessed to be with you, sir. So congratulations to them and to you.